Suddenly, her ordinary life is intertwined with unexpected changes. Recently, the girl, playing at her friend's mansion, slipped on the stairs. In that instant, as the feelings seemed to slip from her body, her previous life must have come alive in her memory. It was something. Suddenly, memories of the past surfaced that broke through the flow of time. A momentary realization transformed her ordinary life into a completely different one. She realized that her life was only a chapter in a book. Selina Elsner, a name with a whole story behind it. Adopted by a count's family years ago, her fate took an unexpected turn. But after her brother was born, they stopped being interested in her. Now she is 19 years old, and what she loves and appreciates most is spending time with her friends. And this evening at Bella's mansion promised to be fun too. They not only played together, but enjoyed moments full of laughter and joy. When sat down, slipping unexpectedly on the steps and falling, hitting her head, barely unconscious, it was as if she had been given access to her memories. Extraordinary vistas that in 19 years of life she had never even imagined. A highly advanced society, a world filled with amazing knowledge and information. Instinctively, she felt that these memories were fragments of her past life. Realizing the reality of her present location didn't seem so incredible. She realized that this world was just a page from the very book of novels she had read in her previous life. The Cuervo's Empire, a name behind which lies magic and greatness, and her close friend Bella Croft, who has become her loyal friend in this confusing life. Here she clearly realized that she was in a novella called Charlotte's Days. She was just a simple background character who wasn't even mentioned in the novella. But it was different with her friend Bella and her family. An infamous family in the Empire, and Bella was its princess. They called her the Witch Croft. Even though she was the daughter of a duke, she had that nickname. It's strange. The Bella she knew, innocent and kind, but yes, the Bella she knows. Bella asks Selina. She doesn't understand why everyone gets so nervous every time they see her. Is she that intimidating or something? Selina answered her, not at all. She explained to her that they just didn't know how cute she was. Bella confirmed, yeah, she's not scary at all. Selina just covered her eyes for a moment out of fright. Opening them, she saw Bella holding an axe and asked, what does she need it for? The girl answered that she was going hunting because Frank had cheated on her, was thrashing around the house looking for Frank, yelling where he was. At that moment, Selina thought, yes, she could hunt to take away her stress of heartbreak. But then it came to Selina that she was really after Frank. Now that she thinks about it, has she seen Frank at all since then? The girl is a little worried. Then she went to her room because she had a headache. She kept having these flashbacks to her past life. She needed to be alone, by herself. She wondered if, in her mind, it was like her character in the novel. She probably hadn't thought about it too much before because she was diligently following her secondary role. The girl left her room and went for a short walk. How much she realized she wasn't just Bella's best friend, but her only friend. But in the novel, they weren't friends. What had happened? Okay, there's no point in thinking about it now, Selina thought. She saw the door ajar and the light in the room. As she approached the door, she grabbed the handle to open it, and when she opened it a little, she realized that she was already in the dreaded Croft mansion. There was a guy in the room. It was Bella's twin, Michael. He saw her when the girl opened the door and asked Selin if she was well rested. The guy had a plate of cookies in his hands. Walking over to her, holding out a plate, he said he'd baked cookies for her. Selina remembered what had been, and Michael, the twin, but he was more gentle. Like a Cerberus with the temperament of a puppy, Farid said they were delicious. She should not be afraid, but on the contrary, she should try them. But Selina remarked, saying she thought they were overdone. Selina took one of the cookies she had in her hands and immediately toasted it. A woman's voice came out, telling Selina that she would sleep here tonight because she had decided to. It was Duchess Croft, the twins' mother. She, Duchess Croft, that sizzles the cookies her son made. Selina took one of the cookies, took a bite, and said, "Oh my goodness, these are delicious." The guy smiled, because he was glad she liked it, although actually Selina thought she wanted her cookies to be sizzled too. The girl looked at the Duchess and her son Michael, and began to remember the Crofts. Bella, Michael, and the Duchess. Besides them, there is one more. The genius with the most powerful mana in the history of the Empire, Louis Croft, is a minor character in the novella. His biological mother was the younger sister of Duke Croft. From childhood, he lived in his mother's house with the Croft family. The reason Louis carries his mother's surname is not told in the novella, and Selena does not know the details either. But soon he is recognized for his skill. A new last name, Bloomberg, and the title of Marquis. Was his mom too strong? Because of her, Louis's state of mind was close to insanity, and it soon began to show. If he could stand in the rain all day because of the noise in his head, it means he's about to start doing monstrous things, such as him catching a guy in a back alley and telling the guy if he knew what day it was. Oh my God, because he saw a young man standing in front of him, and he had a sword. The guy said how he didn't know what day it was. Today was the day he would split into 5 parts. This guy was a creepy man, killing people with a smile. Selena ate the cookies and sat down on the couch. Since no one had offered her that, she thought it appropriate to do it herself. The room was silent. No one was talking to her. So she had a moment to think a little of her own. When she'd read the short story, it hadn't seemed like anything important about Louis. But now that it was real, it gave her goosebumps. He grew up with Bella, they're almost like family. It's too dangerous, though. She's been friends with White for 3 months now, but hasn't seen Louis yet because he's gone on vacation. Unexpectedly, Michael said, "And it's only a week until he comes back." Yeah, she wants to tell us she's coming home in a week. That means peacetime is over for everyone. Louis and those who don't yet know they will do terrible things. Michael and the Duchess who can't stop them. And now that she realized it, Selena was here to stay. It was time to smoothly distance herself from them. Michael said he hadn't seen. He would be sure to introduce them. Selena, as she heard it, thought, "No, you don't," and told Michael she shouldn't. He hadn't seen his family in a long time, and she was here. She's a stranger. So, Selena didn't see that Bella was standing behind her at that moment. She walked quietly into the room, and Selena didn't even hear her. After Immerse's words, Bella became indignant and said what she was talking about. She really wants Louis to meet her, her only friend. Afterward, the girl walked around the couch and sat down next to Selena, continuing the conversation. She added that Louis was coming home for the first time after an absence of 6 months. And it's only natural that she invites her, as her best and precious friend, on this special day for her. She, on the other hand, will agree to spend the day with her. Selena thought, doesn't she get scared by people who kill other people with ease? Of course, it's not like she doesn't know that. Selena smiled and replied, "Of course." Bella hugged Selena and said, "As expected from my best friend." And her only friend Bella started kissing her on the cheek, and Selena laughed and said, "Naturally." Unexpectedly to Selena, Bella looked at her with puzzled eyes and asked, "She will be her best friend always, until her last breath, won't she?" Selena looked at her with a frightened look. She knew what was going to happen next, and she didn't know what to say. She said, "What?" and then just sat there silent from the stress. She even blushed a little, but she didn't say anything and thought that if she didn't say the right words now, things wouldn't go according to plan. The Duchess and Michael began to look at Selena, already leering and for her silence. Afterward, she laughed so loudly that no one suspected anything, and said, "Please invite her when her cousin comes back. Of course, they will be friends forever. She will always be with her." Selena exhaled, thinking, "Thank God she said the right words." Bella swooped down on her and hugged her even more, saying that she knew she would say that. And the girl said, "Oh, how could she say no?" The girl sat there thinking that it was too late to run anyway. It looked like she was going to die soon. Selena finally got home, though it was too late, but that was okay. She was very tired, and came back late because it was whining and clinging to her. It was hard to get out. She just wouldn't let it go. The girl walked from the carriage towards the palace and thought, she needs to rest. She was very tired. Today so much had happened that just her head was about to burst. As suddenly the girl heard her mother's voice, she shouted, "Levi! What is it he's trying to accomplish? He's been playing all day instead of studying," shouted Selena and Levi's mother. She grabbed the boy's ear and rubbed it. The boy screamed, "That's not true! He hasn't played all day! She never sees him study!"
but she always notices if he plays. But the mother said no, what is he saying? He should apologize if he does something he shouldn't do.
Selena screamed, "Mother, she's here!" And the mother released the lad's ear and said, "Oh, Selena, you should have told her sooner that she was back." The girl said she had just arrived. On the carriage ride, Mother asked if she had a good time with Lady Croft. Mother suggested that Selena invite them to their home next time. It would be nice for their families to get to know each other better. Selena told Mother that it was good, she would call them. Mother clapped her hands and said that was wonderful. But Selena must be tired today, so she could go to her room and rest. As Selena walked to the door, she turned and saw her mother continue to tug her brother by the ear and yell at him. "Does he realize what he has done?" The girl immediately remembered that not so long ago her mother had scolded her in the same way. And now she was scolding her little brother. After all the nobles know that she is not their own daughter. They adopted her because they thought they couldn't have children, but later Levi was born. That's when they drifted apart. However, once she became friends with Bella, they started to show interest in her again. Selena finally made it to her room. Collapsing onto her bed, she was simply exhausted. She knew the reason why her mom decided to get close to her, because it was obvious. But because she remembers her past life, and their expectations put pressure on her. It's nice to feel affection anyway. 6 days passed quickly, and Bella called Selena to help her with her shopping. They were to meet at one of the stores. Selena didn't often get out of the house, and when she got to the central square of their town, she saw a lot of people. It was unusual for her. Suddenly she heard her favorite friend's voice. "Selena!" Bella shouted furiously. "Hurry over here!" and waved her hand for the girl to notice her. This store turned out to be the most expensive jewelry store in their town. Bella, as always, pulled a bunch of jewelry on herself and started showing off, asking Selena, "Does this or that piece fit her or not?" Selena always replied, "Yes, it's beautiful." Selena stood and watched as Bella picked out different pieces of jewelry. She heard 2 women nearby, standing at the counter and looking at something. One said that it wasn't just a rumor, and the other said, "Woman, no, Louis is really tearing people apart." The woman put her finger up and said, "Her brother-in-law said he saw it in person. Louis really is a monstrous man." Her friend stood next to her. She was more impressed and said, "Oh my God." Selena moved closer to them so she could hear more clearly. "What are they talking about?" she thought. There didn't seem to be any place now where they weren't talking about Louis, but she still wanted to look at him. Then the girl who was more impressionable said, "But they say he's handsome." She'd really like to look at him. Her companion coughed and said, "Yes, that's true, but still." Selena thought, looks seem to be the most important thing in life, but she's far more important than her safety. Besides, she thought, the beautiful man was already beside her. A ravishing blonde man with red eyes, unreal handsome Michael. Bella asked her brother, "Look, there's a diamond necklace standing there. Should I buy it?" Her brother answered her, "Yes, take it." Selena looked at them both and thought what a pair of twins with a gold spoon in their mouths. Except for the red eyes inherited from the Duke, he has a unique appearance. Though it could be because they are twins. But their personalities fit well together. While Selena was standing there thinking, Bella came running over to her with her earrings and said, "Selena, she has to pick something too. How about this one? Do you like it?" The girl hesitated and didn't know what to answer. And afterward, when they came to the display case, she put them back and said, "This is much more expensive than what I usually wear. Very expensive jewelry, but it was," she said then. It will buy her something. Bella put a great deal of jewelry on Selena. Earrings and beads and necklace and brooches, and said, "Oh, Selena, it suits you beautifully, all of it." Bella laughed and said, "Let's just buy everything from that display case. Yeah, that one over there." The salesgirl boxed up all that jewelry, and Bella said to Selena, "Okay, while she's paying Selena, you should wait for her outside," and pushed the girl out of the store. As Selena walked out of the store, she thought, "Oh no, she got a lot of presents again today. She's already gotten so much from Bella during their friendship. It's a heck of a gap between rich and poor, and if they're both aristocrats. But in the box are things she can't normally afford. It's unbelievable." Selena thought he didn't need to accept any more gifts. That's why she feels guilty. Something was wrong. She should go get it. The girl turned around to go into the store and didn't notice the man. She bumped into him. "Ouch!" she exclaimed, bumping her shoulder against the stranger. So hard, in fact, that she almost fell over. The stranger miraculously managed to pick Selena up in time. The guy said hello to her. "You shouldn't be distracted when you're going somewhere." Selena wanted to say, "Oh, I apologize so much." But when she looked into his eyes, she saw how handsome he was. The girl froze, looking at the guy. He was tall, with brown eyes and dark hair. While Selena was looking at him, the guy was supporting her with his arm the whole time, so she wouldn't fall. The girl realized that she must be looking at the guy unnecessarily long. She said, "I'm sorry." Looking at him, she couldn't understand why he was silent. Come to think of it, it seemed like he'd suddenly gone silent a moment ago. She, for good measure, asked him, "Is everything all right? Nothing hurts?" The guy replied that it did. She was indignant. "What?" The girl thought he must be in pain from a trifling blow, but he looked perfectly fine. "And anyway," she asked out of politeness. The guy said he believed he had something wrong with his head and pointed his finger at his head. Selena looked at the guy and thought, "Oh, he must be crazy for sure. Otherwise, why would he say that?" The guy pointed to her hand. She looked surprised to see what was wrong with her hand. The bell of the store door opening rang and Bella's voice came out. "I'm sorry, Selena." She came out and said she found something else she liked. Buying this one took time. At that moment, the guy hooded his head and disappeared without saying anything. Bella looked at the guy and asked, "Who is that?" Selena replied that she had accidentally bumped into him when she was trying to get back to the store. Bella turned to Selena, checking with her. Did he push her? Selena smiled and said, "No." But as she turned around and looked at him, she thought, he spoke arrogantly to her. But twins are different. Still, though, Selena's thoughts were all about this guy. She thought, he's so weird. On the day of the ball, a lot of guests had gathered. Everyone was talking among themselves, drinking wine, when suddenly Selena saw the guy who had pushed her in the street outside the store. She said, "So, that was him." Bella said, "Yeah, that's right." But she didn't realize she was asking about the guy who pushed her. She thought she was asking about her cousin, and Bella introduced him. "Meet Louis, her cousin." Selena looked at him and realized that he was the same one she had run into yesterday. Selena decided to ask, "Bella, is he definitely her cousin?" She answered confidently, "Yes, it's Louis." The girl noticed that he was different from yesterday's guy. Only the height matched. This guy has wheat hair and extraordinary golden eyes, which is exactly how he was described in the short story. His image from yesterday was a fake. The guy noticed Selena looking at him, and he started looking at her in return. The girl choked a little on her wine. She thought her stomach churned. Why does he keep looking at her like that? She started to get nervous. She was very embarrassed by it. She couldn't take it anymore. Bella noticed that something was happening to Selena. She asked, "Is everything all right?" The girl replied, "No. She has to do something about her cousin." Louis walked over and said that he thought Bella's friend was worried about something. It was all about him, or rather the crazy rumors about him. The guy asked what it was about. He definitely didn't kill anyone this time. Bella asked definitely and didn't fight anyone. "No," he replied. Did it feel like a battle? In any case, he didn't kill anyone, and those who challenge him can't get very far, because he halves them. Bella asked how many this time, and Louis said he didn't know, a man or so. Did she, what, think Michael had said how glad he was that he hadn't killed anyone? Selena wondered, thinking, what the hell is going on here? What is she even doing here? The Duchess called out to Selena, saying, "Oh dear, is she leaving already?" She thought the girl would stay with them a little longer. Doesn't she want to have some more fun? But Selena ran as fast as she could, saying, "No, it's all right. They'll have fun next week. See you then." And she ran to the carriage, and she thought, when Louis goes away, they won't have any fun. Selena ran into the carriage. As she sat down so quickly, she thought, "Phew, finally got out. This feels so good." The girl stretched out on the seat and said, "She made it." Suddenly she saw Louis sitting across from her. Startled, the girl screamed, and the boy said, "Does she think he's going to kill her?" Selena said, "Sir Louis, you are here." She thought, so why is he here? Louis said he hadn't expected Bella to have a friend. Unbelievable. Selena thought, how can you say that about your cousin? Looking at the boy, she asked, Sir Louis, why is he here? The guy explained to Selena that he wasn't going to kill her, and she could relax. The girl thought, does he think it's so easy to relax in a situation like this? Louis said he wanted to check something out. Selena interjected, check what exactly? Then the guy asked that she give him her hand while extending her own. Selena gave him her hand, and he put his own on it. Nothing was happening for her, but something was probably happening for Louis, because she saw the guy huff as he held her hand. Afterward, he asked who she was. Selena replied that she was an ordinary person, but it was clear from the look on his face that he didn't think so. She asked, and what happens if she isn't? The guy replied that maybe he would be more interested in her, because she was apparently unique. Selena immediately thought, of course he's interested in her. He probably wants to do experiments on her. Afterward, the guy said, okay, he's going to hold off on that for now because she's her friend. The guy snapped his fingers and disappeared. Selena thought, how did it disappear? Then she remembered, I see, he was here by magic. The girl leaned back against the carriage seats and thought, unbelievable. He just came to ask her if she was human. Selena has been living like a character in a short story for 19 years. That's not something she can tell him. And he's the only one who doesn't look like a normal person. The strongest mage in history, his power is so great that no human body can handle it. In the original story, he suffered from an unknown noise in his head that was a side effect of his powerful magic. She immediately remembered the first time they'd met, when he'd pointed to his head and said he had a problem with his head. There had always been problems with her. Why did he make her look guilty? And what kind of research were they doing? So Selena decided she needed to pore through the library, since she didn't have such an extensive one at home. So she thought, next time I go to the Crofts, I'll see if I can find a book of some sort, because if anything went wrong, she'd die like a guinea pig. All her concern was noticed by Michael. He asked Selena if something was wrong. He looked at her carefully, for the girl said nothing to him, but stood very thoughtful. But a little later she did decide to inquire after all, telling Michael she had a question. The guy said, for example, and the girl answered him whether magic felt anything special. Realized she had misspoken. She started saying, it's actually. Then Michael interrupted and asked anxiously, did Louis say that? He doesn't feel anything like that? Selena asked, really? And the guy said, yes, Selena, it's nothing like that. Then she calmed down, exhaled, and began to smile. But she thought there was still something strange about it. Michael went up the stairs specifically to get a book from the top shelf. He turned to Selena and said that he was very comfortable around her. Selena smiled and said, isn't it because we're friends? Taking the book from Michael's hands. But the guy said, no. That feeling came from the first time I met her, when there was only an idea of her. And strangely enough, it was reassuring. He thinks she felt the same way. Selena said, well, if she can recall, they've been on good terms since the very first time they met. Selena thought about the fact that she, too, was comfortable around Michael. Smiling, sweet, and tidy. Anyone would feel as comfortable around him as she and I do. The girl's mind was a mess. On the one hand, a menacing Cerberus with fiery eyes. On the other, cookies straight from hell. Though it was a little confusing at times. When they weren't done, Michael said they could go and she was waiting. After these reflections, standing up, she began to reminisce. Indeed, they had first met Bella on a walk organized by the Imperial Palace. For some reason, Selena was sitting next to her that day. She and her parents were not communicating well at that point. And though their fates differed, she looked so lonely, just as she did at home. So Selena spoke to her first. The girl said that she had heard that embroidered handicrafts were in fashion, and that the Duchess was also creating something. Bella didn't answer right away then, so Selena went on to say that she was trying really hard, but she still didn't look very good. But still she answered, saying that she naturally does, and she had recently been making toys. Selena asked if they made them herself, and the girl replied, yes, it's worth it, isn't it? Back then, the memories of her past life had not yet returned, and she had no preconceptions about Bella and her family. Incredibly, as they got closer, she realized how sweet and friendly she was. That memory brought a small smile to Selina's face. She realized that Bella was her friend. Bella met them, saw Selina smiling, and asked what she and Michael were talking about that made her laugh so hard. He didn't swear profanities about her, did he? Selina replied that she remembered the day they had met. Bella asked, really out of the blue, and Selina said, "Yes." Come to think of it, it was the same thing. So why was she afraid of her? She must have been influenced by prejudice like everyone else after acquiring the memories of her past life. And so she thought about how to distance herself from her friend. Resting her head on Bella's shoulder, Selina thought, and in her mind apologized to Bella, saying that she was a terrible friend. After all, she had questioned Michael for Louis as well, which made her realize her feelings for Bella. Yeah, she doesn't know if it's for Louis either. But she certainly has no reason to distance herself from Bella. She was asked, for what it's worth, what happened to those dolls she was talking about back then. She never showed them, though. Bella said she couldn't show them to other people, so she didn't show her either. Selina asked why then, and Bella said they were voodoo dolls. Selina smiled back at Bella and said, "I see." She thought that yes, it's still the same Bella after all. Bella said that since Louis had gotten a new last name, it was hard to see him. Mikhail replied, but he'd be busy right now sorting out the backlog of cases he'd had all this time. Bilo explained that they hadn't seen each other for 6 months. He was going away for some rest before becoming the master of the magic tower. It must not be easy for him. Selina said, "Oh dear," but thought at least he would keep staying busy so she wouldn't have to see him. He and Louis had not seen each other again since that awful welcome party. Louis returned to the tower and took over as its master, as expected, and regained his status as Marquis of Bloomberg. The girls came to Bella's room to say goodbye to Michael. They entered the room. As Selina opened the door, she thought everything was going according to the original so far. That way the memory of her will be erased from his mind. She hoped that everything would turn out for the best. When they opened the door to the room, they saw Louis there. The guy was sitting on a chair as if he was waiting for them, as if nothing had happened. He turned his head and looked at them. When the girls came into the room, she was exclaiming about Louis, and how he was here and why. Selina thought he was very busy. Why did he come here? Louis looked at Bella and said, "When were they going to break up already?" Selina was so frightened she thought, why should they break up? Why should he? The girl thought that if it came down to it, the only thing she could do is to walk up to Bella and put your arm around her and tell her they'll be friends forever, and if they get separated, she'll die. Bella was also outraged at what he said about why they should break up. Selina thought good girl Bella stick up for them. They'll be friends till the day they die. After Bella asked why he thought they were friends, and Louis said she didn't need more friends. Then Louis went for a ruse. He said Selina had stolen one of his friends. The girl resented that why would she steal it? They're all friends together. Then the guy asked if she'd be his friend. He looked at her sideways and had something on his mind. Selina became very nervous. She exclaimed, "No, not like that. Yes, a friend of his friends, and they are all friends together." The girl smiled hysterically and thought she was carrying it all by instinct of self-preservation. Then Louis said okay. He would wait for her to come to his tower. He came today because he wanted to check on something near her. He can't hear the noise. He asked Selina how she did it. The girl was very surprised, thinking, "Noise? What noise?" But Bella came up and interrupted him, saying he was at it again. Why was he asking Selina such a thing? Bella apologizes to Selina, telling her to forgive him. It's not like she doesn't know what he's talking about. That's right. Louis is referring to that noise from childhood. Selina thought, Louis is talking about the noise. For it was that noise, audible only to him, as if it existed only inside his head. No matter what he did, the noise would not stop. Because of this, he was always annoyed. Only the main character, Charlotte, could save him from it. With divine power, she released him from that noise. There was still a long way to go, but Selina put the book she was holding on the table and asked him if he could hear the noise. The boy replied, "Yes, but it's much quieter now." Selina immediately remembered that, in the original book, it was written that the noise was annoying, and even very annoying. The guy said, "Wait," holding out his hand. He meant for her to give him hers too. But since they had been through this before, Selena already knew to give her hand. She put her hand on his. The guy said he couldn't hear anything now. The noise had stopped completely. He even smiled, obviously relieved. He asked how she did it. Selena thought, I wish I knew how she did it, but she didn't. Then Lewis asked her for one thing. Since the trip to the tower had been postponed, he wanted to suggest to her if she could meet at the ducal estate from time to time. Selena asked, Here? Lewis said after the last ride, the noise disappeared for hours. Just hold his hand like this. The girl had only one question. Why she didn't want to continue dating him. There was no point in her doing that. But she can't tell him in her heart of hearts that she doesn't want to because she's afraid. And of course she answers him, which sounds uncomplicated. Let's do it. Lewis couldn't pass up this opportunity. As the girl sat laughing and talking, he remembered how it had all happened. The first time they met Selena, the guy was walking down the street, not noticing anyone, because again that noise was bothering him in his head. That's when he didn't notice Selena and accidentally hit her shoulder as he walked by. And to keep the girl from falling, he grabbed her arm. She said, Oh, I'm sorry. That's when he realized that all at once the noise disappeared from his mind as he held her hand. Lewis no longer remembers when it all started. What had been ringing in his head constantly since he was a child, but she was able to stop him. The guy himself doesn't know how, but if she can help him, he wants to take advantage of it. After all, that noise is an unbearable feeling he goes through life with. The Light of the Tower leadership has high hopes for Sir Lewis. The Tower Master appointed Lewis as his successor. Cheese Lewis, you knew on this occasion, citizens of the Empire. Lewis, the genius of the century. The strongest mage in the history of the Empire. The guy thought they were making too much of a fuss. Some great mage being tormented by hallucinations. It's all just words based on statistics. Lewis had other mages come to see him. They would barge into his office and yell at him to listen to them. They had something they wanted to tell him, but the guy explained to them that he had a headache and wanted to talk to them later. But these mages would not listen to him. They argued that they were older than him, and he was obliged to show them more respect. As a Tower Master, shouldn't he have some manners? Shouted one of the mages. Does he hear him? But the boy sat at his desk, clutching his head. It was hurting him terribly, plus the noise, which bored him to no end. He said he'd told them he'd talk to them later. The guy was already papered from not knowing what else he could think of to somehow assuage his anger. But the magicians wouldn't listen to him. Then the guy stood up and said, Think about it. Would it be fair if they all died because of their obsession with order? The mages standing at the doorway were outraged at these words, saying, Why is that? And then Lewis couldn't help himself and said, Maybe they want to die in order of seniority. The magical fire of anger was already blazing in his hands, and all sorts of flashes and lightning bolts of energy began to occur in the room. Well, then he didn't hold back. He started impressing everyone with his power and saying, If it's not so, then why are you yelling? Michael burst into the room. He saw that a great deal had happened. The mages were lying on the floor unconscious. He would even say that, dead. Lewis stood over them. Michael said to Lewis he expected him to snap one day, but it was still wrong. Lewis explained to him, What else was I supposed to do with them? His mind was already on edge, and they kept annoying him. He was already restraining himself as best he could. Michael said he didn't want to tell him this, but he had forgotten something important. The guy smiled and said that if he killed all the mages in the area, he'd have to do everything himself until new ones showed up. Lewis was very surprised and said, Yes, what kind of advice is that? And from then on he tried to control his anger. In his mid-teens, the noise became unbearable, and there was no way to get rid of it. And then he met her, and finally felt for very many years that it was possible to live without noise, if only for a few hours. A few days ago, when she met Lewis, she received a present from him. The guy held out his hand, and in his hand was a box, a very nice box. He said, "Take it," the girl asked. "What is it?" Lewis explained to her that she was helping him. Right, because it was a thank you for helping him. Selena opened the box, and in it was a magic wand. very beautiful, decorated with gold carvings, and in the middle is a diamond. Yeah, how much is that worth? The girl thought. Everyone around her gathered to gawk at the gift, all meaning the Croft family. The Duchess looked at the gift and said, "Oh dear, Louis has given something perfect." Louis said it was an honor, right, to keep it as an heirloom. When evening came, Selina had already returned to her home, placing the rod on her bed. She thought, well, she'd like to keep it a secret from her family. Her parents are overly interested in what she's getting from the dukes. Surely they would make a fuss if they found out about it. The girl took in her hands and said that she could use the gifts for her own pleasure sometimes, after all. She laughed, lay down on her bed, put her hands up her wand, and admires how beautiful it is. She likes it very much, her magic rod. This girl's fear of Louis was reduced by about 1% after this gift. The next day, after Louis had given her the gift, Selina came to visit the Croft family again. And right from the first minute, Bella rushed to her with words if there was anything she wanted to eat that she wished for most. It was heard that Camilla had released a new product. Did she want them to buy it? Selina asked what she didn't want. She didn't seem to want anything. Bella shouted, "Why not?" offended and went the other way, saying that she too wanted to give her a similar gift as Louis. Selina waved her hand, saying, "Bella, wait." There was shouting halfway down the street that she couldn't lose to Louis. Selina thought, first of all, they should move away somewhere, or people would already be watching. So she decided to go along, and said, "Okay, then we'll just go over there and get something to eat." When the girls came to the coffee shop, they saw that there was a sign closed on the door. Selina was happy at first, thinking that, thank God, she wouldn't have to eat anything and spend money on her again. But there would be great opportunities. She didn't understand how she had managed to make it happen so quickly that the cafe had opened just for them. Had she really rented the whole place just for the two of them? Bella asked if she wanted to spend all day here, drinking tea, eating cakes and pastries. Literally a minute later, a girl came in and said, "Madam, here is your order." She turned to Bella, said, "Great job picking up that box." She opened it and said, "Ta-da! A present for Selina. She likes it." The girl held a hat in her hand. Selina took it and asked for a present for her. She considered the hat, for it was very beautiful. Selina tells Bella that she shouldn't do this. She's already given her so much. She can't give her anything in return. But Bella has also made it clear that it's okay, and she deserves it since she's the only friend she has. Bella reminded Selina that she hadn't forgotten the promise they'd made to each other. To be friends until death. Selina replied, how could she forget something like that? Looking at Bella, she thought that sometimes she was too serious. She decided to cheer her up by telling her that the hat was so cute. Luckily, she could wear it for a very long time. Unexpectedly, Marquis Louis approached them. Selina cried out in fright that he had not warned them. Sneaking up behind them, she exclaimed, "Ah, Marquis!" Bella was indignant too, asking how he knew they were here. Louis told her to lend him a friend for a minute. Walking up to Selina, he snapped his fingers. She only tried to say something like what he was doing. As they moved into the cafe to the study, the girl cried out, "Oops!" Looking around, she saw that it was the Marquis's house. Selina said that if he needed her to hold his hand, why not do it next to Bella? The boy replied that there were too many extra eyes there. Selina thought, right, store employees. The guy lay down on the couch and said he didn't know what she was doing. But when they were near each other, the noise stopped. The guy reached out to her again. Selina thought, hey, what about her? She's scared to be one-on-one with him. Though who asks her about that? But then the girl pulled herself together and said that enough was enough. There was no reason to panic. She would be fine, and everything was fine as long as he didn't exactly do research on her, because he still needs her. She came over and said, "Here's her hand, hold it." The guy said, "Okay." She sat down in the chair next to him. That's how the meditation session turned out somehow. Louis is holding Selina's hand and they are just silent. She looked at him. The guy had his eyes closed. She was still frightened. Gosh, she thought, her heart fluttering, and she was terrified. Some time passes. They also sit in silence. The guy is holding on to her with one hand, and he has his other hand on his head. She thought it was probably safe to let go. Selena tried to take her hand away, but she failed. The guy held her hand tightly enough. Selena thought, wondering if he was going to let her go at all. How long would she have to sit like this? But the guy, as if he'd read her mind, said, just a minute more. She noticed that he relaxed his frowning eyebrows, his face filled with weariness. On such a calm day, what would it be like to suffer through all this noise? The girl pondered. She looked at him and realized that she didn't know, but he must be really tired of it. She's always uncomfortable around him, but sleeping he looks so peaceful. Why? The girl was asking a question. The guy opened his eyes and smiled, looking at her. He told her she'd burn a hole in him if she kept looking at him like that. Selena thought, geez, that scared the hell out of him. How did he realize she was looking at him? He must have been awake. The guy got up and sat up, still holding his head a little. She said she was just trying to wake him up. To get out of the situation, she came up with the idea of telling him that if any of his coworkers saw them, who he might misunderstand everything, that she didn't need to worry about that. Smiling, he said, who would think they were dating? Selena thought it sounded hurtful, but it was true. Louis asked. She hadn't forgotten what he'd told her last time. If they are next to each other, but without physical contact, although it subsides, the noise is still there. If they touch each other, however, the noise is silenced for 3 hours. He had already told her, if she holds his hand, he gets 3 hours of peace. Selena interjected, 3 hours. And yes, she remembered. Today the guy said the noise was so bad he couldn't do anything about it. She looked at him and thought, oh, and all this time he's been putting up with it. Well, if the fact that they were holding hands gave him some quiet. Well, what if there isn't some way to increase the duration? Selena is not the main character in this story. Charlotte is the main character, so she can't seal his powers like in the novella. The only thing she can try to do is increase the duration of the effect. And then an idea occurred to her. Holding hands for 3 hours? But if you try a different type of contact? When she got to her house, she was still thinking, no matter what, even if it's possible, she won't do. This way to maximize time. She's been quieting Louis's noise for 2 weeks now, even though they've spent all that time alone together. But they've never gotten closer. Vitya poured water from the basin, filling herself with hopes that the village would want to know more about the tower. But in fact, she only became even more uncomfortable. Holding the rod in her hands, the girl was very glad she had it. It's proof of their non-deal. She can only trust her with her charms. As Selena lay thinking, her younger brother Levi burst into the room, opening the door without knocking. He asked what she was doing. Selena screamed, "Geez, Levi, what happened?" The boy smiled and asked what it was she had just hidden there. He didn't remember his mom bringing anything like that, and the boy was carried out of the room like lightning. He ran to tell his mom what his sister's secrets were. The kid screaming, running down the hall, "Mom, and Selena's trying to get her brother not to tell his parents." But her attempts to stop her brother had failed. She realized she was in trouble now. Mother came rushing into the room. No one even hesitated. I took it in my hands. "Is that a rod?" she asked, wondering why she hadn't told her she had something like that. Selena didn't know what to say to her, but her mother answered for her. She said, was her daughter afraid they would take it away? Selena didn't even question it. Wasn't that what was happening right now in front of her eyes? Mom made a hurt tone of voice and said, "Unbelievable. She thought if she told them, they'd take it away. She has it." The village had nothing to do but refute all this. The girl said, "No, she didn't. She just wanted to keep it a secret." Mother looked at her and clarified with her that there were secrets from their family. She said, "Oh no," but Mother said if he had not informed her of it, she would never have found it. And then this nice woman started screaming. Now that she thinks about it, she had asked her to bring her to them, the Dukes, but she still hadn't done it. If she had been in Selena's shoes, she would have brought them home long ago. Selena stood there and just listened, because it was pointless to say anything. She wouldn't perceive her anymore, but she was used to this sort of thing by now. Memories of her very first life, when she wasn't in the novella, came back to her. Her own mother had yelled at her the same way. She herself had said, come on, answer me." Selena tried to tell her mom it wasn't like that. But the mother yelled why she kept making excuses if she had to ask for forgiveness. So, in this life she also needs to say she's sorry, Mom. She realized she wasn't sorry, but she had to pretend she was sorry. The girl laughed and said that they couldn't come because they were very busy, but she would be sure to ask again today. Even though she always explained her reasons, she just got scolded more. But if she just went along with them, it was over quicker, as is happening now. Mother said, "Okay." She thinks Selena has already figured it out since she's saying those words, and don't hold a grudge. Leaving, Mother said, "After all, I will wait." And Levi's younger brother said, "Ha, what's that?" And that was it. He was so hoping that now his sister would be punished, just as he usually was. When everyone had dispersed, Selena exhaled and said, "It's all over." How worried she was. And the most frustrating thing for her is that she can't say what she thinks. But that would only complicate things. And it never ended. Well, her parents are pretty good when they're happy. It's much better than in her past life. So it's time for me to get depressed, she thought. Doesn't even miss her past life. Selena walked over to the table and saw an object there. A magic orb. Lewis had given it to her to keep her in touch. Well, how to use it she didn't know. She decided to try it, put her hand on the object and said, "Marquis." Suddenly she heard his voice. He asked where she was. "Is Bella around?" Selena replied, "Ah, no, she's at home." She could hear from his voice that he was not well. She's afraid to meet him in such a state. Asked if she wanted to go to a restaurant. Of course, she didn't expect such an invitation, but agreed. But eventually she arrived at the Crofts' home. As she approached the study, she saw Bella. Selena said, "I'm sorry, Bella." Marquis suddenly asked her out. "It was," Bella replied. "It's all right. Lewis has to be hurried." Later they settled down in the room. Lewis lay on the sofa and the girls sat opposite and each went about their business. Selena entered the room and Lewis reached out his hand right from the threshold and said to her, "Give me your hand." He started to tell her that it had been a nightmare day since morning. But Selena for some reason thought that people might think she had left him. Walking over, she gave him her hand. Well, she didn't want to stay home after the scandal with her mom anyway. It was probably for the best. Afterward, they settled down in the room. Lewis lay on the sofa, and the girls sat opposite, each minding his own business. Selena opened a book and began to read. Still, her thoughts weren't on the book, but on the fact that she could take his hand before she left. Selena notices that Bella stares intently at it every time she and Lewis hold hands. It's very disconcerting. That's when Selena decided to strike up a conversation. She asked Bella, "What is she doing? She's not making voodoo dolls again, is she?" "She was," she replied. "Doesn't make them anymore. She's sick of them." Selena thought she meant to say she'd had enough of it. Selena said she was very happy that she and Bella were friends, and was too. That confirmed it, saying she agreed. There were cookies on the table. Selena liked them very much. She took one, and began to enjoy the delicious cookie, thinking it was yummy. Selena thought that if Lewis was awake that some crazy thing was going on, but right now he was asleep. It was also safe for her right now, and she had her favorite book with her. And yummy cookies, she didn't need anything else. Selena enjoyed the quiet, the delicious cookies, and the good company. She hoped it would always be like this. In the evening, upon arriving home, her mother and father came to see her. Her father said that her mother had told him that she had withheld a gift from the Tower Master. Her father told her to show him. Selena thought at that moment, "Mom told him everything." Mother looked at Selena, thinking, too, that she had not been secretive about such things before. Why did she start now? Selena went and took a magic rod from the box and brought it to her father. Her father took the rod in his hands and said, "This is for her for promising to help him with his work." And in return he gave her this. Dad rejoiced. It was about time. They were just in need of something like this. Selena was surprised. She asked what her father had asked her to give her. He would use it. The girl immediately imagined that he would put on a cloak and walk around waving the wand. Where would he use it? Selena thought no, she couldn't let that happen. What is he even thinking? First of all, it's not like he can't use magic. Dad said they could get a lot of money for it. Well, now it's clear to the girls, he wants to sell it. My father began to explain that some time ago he had invested money unsuccessfully, and he needed it urgently. And this rod is worth a lot of money. Mother joined in and said that yes, Selena should help her father. I mean, she understands that. They'll use it for their family. So he thinks there won't be a problem with the marquee. All Lena said was she was sorry, but that was problematic. If it got to the point where they wanted to sell her stuff, she'd rather give away her savings. Mother screamed. Isn't her father in a difficult situation when they asked last time? She gave them everything. Explained to my mom that these situations are different. Father snatched the magic rod from his mother and said, "But it's okay if they borrow it. Right? My father said he would return him and the money later, and was about to leave. But Selena was outraged. No! She ran up and snatched the magic wand from her father. She raised her tone, yelling at her parents, "I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen. Maybe give it to them." Eventually, in the evening, they all had a falling out, and each went their separate ways. The next morning came. Selena sat at the table and thought about the scandal with her parents last night, especially her mother's words when she said that they could use the rod to protect the family, but they were angry. This is the first time she's ever refused a request from her parents, and it's a shame. The governess came to the table. She said, "Miss, maybe you should tell your parents how you feel. Wouldn't it make you feel better?" The girl placed a kettle of tea on the table and a cup for Selena. Selena thought for a moment, then said, "Indeed, we must try it." A startling thought occurred to the girl. She noticed a bouquet of gorgeous flowers on the table. This bouquet, or rather the color of these flowers, reminded her of her mother. What did the girl do? She took this bouquet of flowers and decorated the money with $1,000 bills so that the parents could pay off their debts. The girl walked down the corridor confident. She knew they would like this gift. A bouquet of flowers and money. She's a genius. It's not gold, of course, but she's sure they'll feel better. As she approached the dining room, taking the handle, she thought it was lunchtime. She's sure they're there. As she opened the door a little, she heard her parents talking. Her father asked, "Maybe they should talk to her today?" Her mother replied, "He doesn't know. She turned them down yesterday. He thinks it's worth asking today." Selena heard what they were saying about her. Her mother said, "At least he realizes how ashamed she was yesterday because she had to backtrack on what she said." The father objected, saying that it didn't matter. A mother could always change her children's minds. She could do it. She was the best. And then Selena heard the most terrifying words to herself. Her mother had said that if it wasn't for Levi asking her not to bring her back, but she was a friend of the ducal daughter, right? The girl wondered what she had just heard. Her bouquet, which she held in front of her, went down. Her hand just wouldn't go up. She stood there and listened as they talked about her further, the kind of things they were profiting from her. The father said she does nothing, but the ducal daughter gives her everything. The mother replied, "But they get nothing from her. They get to spin this girl because she's good to them. If they are in a bad relationship, they get nothing. Either way, it will be weird if they suddenly start treating her better." Mother said he'd been watching her for years but hadn't figured it out yet. She liked it if they treated her well, but she never realized anything. Why did she even think they were being nice to her? Her father had said, well, at least now they could tell everyone that they had ties to the magic tower. And it's pure gold that will benefit them more in the future. Selena was very upset by the words she heard. She threw the bouquet in front of the door and left. She just ran away, leaving the castle. Where to go now, she doesn't understand. Walking out into the city, she realized what to eat. She didn't want to look at the storefronts. Neither does she want to. Standing near the display case and looking at the hat, she thought she had never bought anything herself. The girl, passing by the gorgeous showcases with dresses, realized that she had no problems. But she still didn't spend much money. Often she only looked at beautiful things, but didn't buy them. Shoes in her bag, all her expensive jewelry she'd gotten after meeting Bella. She remembers that it was then that her parents started treating her well. She knew that. But instead of anger, she feels disappointed. Probably because even though she knew the truth, she kept pretending. It was inevitable. Her family from her past life was the same. Her parents always told her she was their daughter, but they also didn't consider her their own daughter. She recalled an incident when a girl came home and screamed, "Mom, she's home!" and saw a picture of her mother giving her brother a candy bar, and him saying he didn't want to eat it. Brother says they don't have the one with the red ginseng with gelatin left, and gives Mom this bar. But Mom doesn't take it back yet. She tries to persuade her son by saying that this one is healthier, so eat it, son. He needs to eat well and study hard. And when Selena came up and said she wanted that too, Mother slapped her on the arm and shoved her away. And then she yelled, did she really want to take food from her brother? So it comes out that the good things, the good food, the affection of her parents were all just for her brother. Even when she was filling out an application for university, her father asked, does she want to go there? After all, isn't tuition there too expensive? Better she should look for a state university in a rural area. They're already paying for her brother's education. The girl tried to explain, but couldn't she get into something better with her grades? I mean, that's what he said. But her father replied that were she and her brother the same. For her parents, only the eldest son existed. It would be nice if she had real parents, the girl thought, seeing the family playing together in front of her. Such was her desire before she remembered her past life. But now that she thinks about it, her current parents were better than her biological parents in her past life, even though it's only because she's friends with Bella. But still, looking at the purple flower, she thought it was the same as her mom's clothes. They had treated her like their own daughter before Levi was born, and she wanted to believe that they could get their relationship back on track. But that didn't mean anything anymore. She'd already heard what they thought of her. What a disappointment. The girl took the magic orb with her because Lewis could call for her at any moment, and right now is that awkward moment when he calls for her. She thought, man, why did Lewis decide to call her now? She doesn't want to talk to him, and why is this thing so heavy? There was nothing she could do. She let him know where she was now and stood waiting outside Lewis's storefront. Selena turned her head and saw the Marquis. He was dressed in a cape, just as he had been the last time they had met. Selena asked him to keep it a secret that they had met. Here the guy replied, okay. She held out her hand to him, business as usual. He took it, and they stood. The only thing was that this time Selena counted to 10 to herself. As she read, she let go of her hand and said, well, held up her hands. And that was enough. She was leaving. See you tomorrow. Lewis said, wait a minute. She stopped and thought too hard. Grabbed his arm. He was in pain. The guy asked her what was wrong with his face. The girl smiled and answered that there was something wrong with it. Lewis told her, yes. He asked because she's always weird, but now it's even worse than usual. Selena said it was probably because of her smile. The guy asked, anything pestered because of your weird smile? The girl replied, no, he didn't. He misunderstood. He said that no matter how he looked at it, it looked like this. And he gave her some valuable advice. If she told him who was bothering her, he'd get rid of him. Selena thought, get rid of him. Sweat broke out on her face, considering what Lewis had said. This wasn't a joke. Selena got scared and said that it's okay, it's all right. He doesn't have to worry. But the guy replied that he doesn't believe her. He knows she's lying because the people in the magic tower were making the exact same facial expressions. It kind of happened when I was calling them by their names. He feels sorry for them. Selena lowered her head and said that everything was really fine, and then she added that he was very sensitive than she thought, even inquired about her feelings. The guy said, yes, he is. And then he thought about it and asked again. She said he was delicate and a cool mage, right? Selena laughed after his words. The guy said, now she's laughing for real. At this time at Selena's house, her parents and her brother are having dinner, and they get into an argument, as usual, about how they raised her, and she's such a disgrace. Mother began to cry out, which is true, they have been taking care of her all this time, feeding her. How can she do this to them? The girl thought she would finally be rewarded for being raised. They remembered how it had been from the beginning. Mother had come to Father and told him that Selena had befriended Lady Croft. Father said, the Croft witch. When my parents went outside, they saw a bunch of different beautiful boxes. They asked what they were. Selena answered that she had gotten presents from Bella. Then she said she thought the gifts were too many, and when she tried to return them, she was told that they would never take them back. Then her parents rejoiced. They were thrilled, because in the future it all became theirs. After all, she had gotten enough to share with them. I mean, she keeps getting them all the time, and this gift, is there anything special about this piece of gold? Her father took a sip of wine and said, "No, after all, they're her parents. Do they need her permission?" The mother asked what, and in truth, let's just take it away. When Selena got home, having scouted around outside a bit, plus talking to Louis, she went to check her magic wand that opened the box. She didn't find it, but she knew she'd left it there. There were governesses in the room. She turned and asked if they had accidentally moved it anywhere while they were cleaning. The girls said no, lady, but one of them told the truth, that the lady had actually taken him. Selena rushed downstairs to the dining room where her parents were sitting, swinging the door open. She asked where he was. In the dining room, the parents sat quietly and drank tea. Mother clarified what had happened to her, that she was barging in like that without knocking. Selena asked for her gift from Marquis Bloomberg to be returned. The parents looked at each other but said nothing, pretending they hadn't taken anything. Mother took a cup of tea and took a sip. She wondered how she knew about it, though they had told her they were having a little trouble. So they sold it. Selena was very surprised and upset. Sold it? She'd said she wouldn't authorize it. Her father said they would pay her later. Selena asked, "Later is later when?" Mother replied, "Well, she could get a lot more from Lady Croft, couldn't she?" Yes, she got that gift from the Tower Master, but she could ask for more. So why rush? Selena said. But that doesn't mean they can take her stuff whenever they want. It's her stuff, given to her as a gift. The girl grabbed her head and asked them to please just tell me where they sold it. She will go and take it back. Mother said it was too much, Selena. They're her parents. They loved and cared for her so much. She doesn't think they'd hate to hear that over some little thing. Selena repeated, "Loved, in all seriousness." The girl said she had heard every word they had said in the dining room yesterday. If they were only nice to her because of Isabella, then they don't need to do it anymore because she won't give them anything else. Mother objected at once, that she was only doing this because of what she had heard. Pounding her palm on the table, she shouted, "She speaks as if she has given them something significant." Her father shouted as well. "Yes, that's all she wants to say to the people who raised her all these years. She has to wonder how she's paying them back. They took care of her and she doesn't even help them." Selena said she was so sorry she couldn't help them, so she could just leave. And she's not going to help them in the future. So she leaves. Without her, there'll be the three of them. The perfect family. Selena started and realized that she had spoken out for the first time in so long. And then there was a voice that asked what she would do if she left. And Selena said without hesitation that she would think of something, even if she became a dishwasher. It was better than living here. But then it came to the girl. It was a familiar voice that appeared to be hers, and it wasn't her parents who asked the question. When she returned, she saw the Marquis Louis. She asked why he was here. Something urgent had happened. The guy snapped his fingers and a magic wand appeared in his hands. He asked who dared to sell his gift. Selena saw him holding her magic wand. She asked where he had found it. The guy replied that he saw it at an auction and took it right away. It was made especially for Selena. He couldn't help but recognize it. Selena exhaled. What a relief to find him. Behind them, her parents began to whisper. Her mother said, the Marquis said, it turns out he was the one who had recently become Tower Master. The Marquis began to explain that it was a gift from the bottom of his heart, and it was the first time he had ever seen anyone so hastily sell a gift he had given. Selena sighed, saying, "Oh." She tried to explain something, but was interrupted by her father, who headed towards the Marquis, telling him, "Tower Master, it is an honor to meet you. They have heard much about you from their daughter." The Marquis heard these words and asked, "Really? And what did she say?" Father said that she was telling him that he was a very delicate and considerate man. Louis said, "Yes, very delicately. That's why he stealthily walked in and overheard you arguing. That's polite, isn't it?" Selena realized he had heard everything. He turned and said, "He said she had a strange look on her face, and she said it was okay." The guy added that they're only being nice to her anyway because of this gift. Her family is so hypocritical. Mother put her hand over her heart and said, "No, that's not it. He seems to have misunderstood something. Mother interjected, adding Selena to the conversation. She asked, "Isn't that right, Selena?" But the girl was afraid that if she said it was a lie, what would Louis do? She worries that he might eliminate the people who have been bothering her. She can't hurt her family. Louis says he won't do anything, asking the girl to tell the truth. She asked accurately, and Louis grinned and said she was already going to lie.